What is the deal with Swayman? Is this going to get done? What's going on?
Yeah, it's going to get done. It's just, like I said, everybody, especially this year, that the Stanley Cup went all the way to the end. There was like 3 days till the draft, 3 days free agency, 3 days to development camp, and everybody's gone. Everybody has their phones off. Everybody has taking some time. This is like the 3 or 4 weeks right now of the season being actually off. So it's going to get done. They've gone through this a little bit last season. So the business side of it, they know where each other stands and have gone through it before. And, fortunately for Jeremy, he's very important and wants to be paid as such.
And I give you credit because you were a voice at Nesson against the goalie duo entering the postseason. You were kind of steadfast in this opinion. You were right. Did Don Sweeney make a mistake in not unloading Linus earlier?
They tried to,
right.
And Linus was able to veto that, and that was his right as a player, and I'm always a player's right guy.
But I mean, maybe if you try longer in the off season.
And I think so. What happened last? I think they would have. I don't know. I think that they tried last season as well. Last offseason.
Okay.
But what happened last offseason was because of the salary cap, no one made a trade. It was the first time ever in the NHL draft that no trades were made last season. So there just wasn't a market. You couldn't get rid of anybody because everyone was up against the salary cap from the pandemic a couple years earlier. And everything needed to reset this summer. Last summer, they just didn't have an opportunity to. I think they would have if they could have. And I think they traded Linus at the first possible time that they could actually do so, which was just a couple weeks ago.
Linus aside, are you happy with all of the trades, all the movement that they've made? Like, I think everybody kind of expected that DeBrusk, Grzelcyk, like those guys were going to be gone. And
Yeah, I love Zadorov. I think they needed. How many times have I sat in this chair and talked about at deadlines, or needing bigger defensemen, stronger, more physical. People call in and talk about that. And he's a left shot guy. Basically sets up the Bruins back end for 5 years here. You have McAvoy, Lindholm, and Zadorov lined up for those years, all on good numbers, all on good salary as the cap rises. So that's a great signing. The Bruins needed a centerman. We've all talked about the centerman to play with David Pastrnak. The centerman's not winning, losing Bergeron and Krejci. They went out and got the best center free agent available. You have to pay for that, of course, and that's why Lindholm got $49 million, $50 million. It's a good signing, though. He's a great player. He's fits the mold of what Bruins centers need to do: play 200-foot game, play defense, and work from the back from their own defensive end. So I think in that respect, he's a great play. It'll be what I'm most curious about now is who's the young guy that's going to step up, because they weren't able to go out and get another top six forward, and they lost a winger in Jake DeBrusk that has played in the top six for them the last few years. So who is it? Lysell? Is it Merkulov? Is it somebody that we haven't heard of? Who, like a Patra from last season, who steps in and fills in that top six void? And that's what's very interesting to me at this point.
And so Monty, the head coach last year, obviously fell short. What year before? Fell short after the great regular season, but at least advanced to the second round. Where is he? Is he as safe as ever? Is he? What's the deal with Monty and the organization?
Well, yeah, he's safe as an NHL coach can be. I think I don't know if I had a computer, I'd look it up really quickly. I would assume he's one of the longest tenured coaches in the National Hockey League, being 2 years. There's a lot of turnover in the NHL. It's easy to fire coaches in the NHL in hockey. So I would guess he's in the top 10 of longest tenured. So that means, you start ending up on borrowed time 3 years, 4 years in, that all being, and that's just like that I'm being very general in that's what coaches' lifespans are.
Right.
I think he's done a great job. I think getting through the first round and finding a way to beat Toronto after being up 3-1, that's a huge weight off of not just his shoulders, but a lot of the players' shoulders. And I thought they played Florida as well as anybody played Florida. in the playoffs. They had opportunities. I think the one thing that leaves a bad taste in the mouth is not winning at home in the second round, losing all 3 games that they played against the Florida Panthers in the Garden. That one stings a little bit. But from a coaching perspective, Jay Leach is coming in as an assistant, a new assistant, so that changes the makeup a little bit. But he's in a good spot. I think the players really enjoy playing for him. He's a great communicator, and he's had them play a really good style. That all being said, you need to win, and you need to continue to make playoffs to have your job in the NHL.
I don't think he's top 10.
No?
From the list I'm looking at. Bruce Cassidy, number 7.
Well, he would be the same as Cassidy.
Okay.
Right? So they're all tied for 7. So
Okay.
there's probably like 5 or 6 guys that are 2 years
It's
that
weird
are all
that he's
got
not
hired.
coming up on any of the lists, though.
Yeah, because him and they got.
One thing for me is I think it may happen that their regular season is not as successful as the last 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's fine.
Yes.
We all, myself included, not, I'm a relatively big hockey purist, but not the biggest.
Yeah.
Having 2 great goalies over the course of 82 games is going to give you a bump over basically every team in the NHL. And this year, I don't know how, what's his name from Worcester who's coming up? The guy they traded for.
Yeah, Korpisalo.
So, I don't know. He's obviously not going to be as good as Linus.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But that'll be fine, right? They'll be a little, they may suffer. Obviously, they're more talented this year, with the moves they've just made in the offseason. But in the net, they're not going to be as dominant throughout 82 games, and I think that'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And to think that they're going to start the season the way they have the last 2 years, where they basically went 19-1 in the first 20 games. Like last season, they did the same thing. They rattled off 8 in a row. It's in October. It's really hard to see how that is actually going to happen again. I suppose you can't discount it because they have done it 2 years in a row with 2 very different type teams. But I would agree. I think the division's gotten better. That's a lot of it, right? Like what the NHL schedule dictates kind of how many games you win as well. And the Detroits, the Ottawas, the Buffalo seem to have gotten better. And that just takes a couple wins here and there away from the Bruins. I don't think anyone's concerned about that. I think last year there would have been because we didn't know what the team was going to be.